Welcome to the Privated Podcast, where we spotlight extraordinary people and remarkable talent reshaping our world. Today, we're diving into IT managed services with Max Sedghi. He's the Vice President of Business Development at International Computer Services Incorporated, short for ICSI.
Yes, thank
Hello,
you for that
Max. How are you
intro.
doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, happy to have you. Doing great.
Of course.
Today, as I mentioned, I'm in Mexico, in Guadalajara, and today we have a little bit of a rainy day, but I'm enjoying the summer, right? Just traveled. I traveled from Buenos Aires, from Argentina. My mom had an open heart surgery, so back there is winter, so it was very chilly, right? So now I'm coming back, and even though it's a little rainy, I'm enjoying that it's hot summer. It's beautiful days.
There we go. Yeah, we're leading up here to the 4th of July in Maryland, in the United States. So we have a little bit of a shorter week this week. Hopefully, if nothing goes sideways on any IT projects, it should be a knock on wood, fairly quiet week for us here.
Right. 4th of July is coming up. That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you planning to do the avocado, the guacamole, and watching the?
We will see. Yes, the big thing that we'll be watching is the hot dog eating contest in Coney Island. So that's the big thing here that we watch in the States.
Interesting. I know that the avocado, the guacamole is a big thing there, and most of the avocado come from Mexico, right? So
Yeah,
for Mexico, it's a big thing, right?
certainly.
So, for the audience, I think it's important to listen to what Max has to say because of all his years of experience. He has also spent many years working at Oracle on the enterprise solutions. So, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to talk about the IT services, IT managed service, sorry, with him and hear what
Correct. Yep.
his thoughts, right? So, let's start by talking about what does ICSI actually do for its customers? Let's start with that.
Certainly. So we've seen many facets of the IT industry. So ICSI has been around since 1987. We have seen many facets of the IT industry, many booms and busts of technology, and we have really supported clients from government entities when we first started out to where we are now with small and medium-sized businesses. And that's really the lifeblood of the economy in the United States that we really focus on, the ones that usually get overlooked and get intimidated by IT. But as they're building foundations and building businesses, the one thing that when I speak with business owners is they want someone that they can trust that understands IT. It's great that when you have folks that are in the background and can do everything, but the translation aspect of it is very, very important. If I make this investment now in setting up a proper IT foundation, how is this going to pay me dividends in the future? And that's really what ICSI does today. We work with businesses ranging in areas of expertise. We work with a lot of medical offices, some that span over the entire country. We work with consulting firms with remote teams. We work with the local mom and pop shops around Annapolis that just need someone to call for support. And it's the big thing whenever we meet with someone, they're like, am I too small for your services or am I too large for your services? The beauty about what our organization does is we can scale accordingly. And just because something may work for close to a Fortune 500 company that we work with doesn't mean it's going to work for the 10 person business down the road from us. So it's really being able to understand, much like in the work that you do, Federico, understand what the business needs are, not try to over-solution it, give them a quality product at a quality price and be in it for the long-term relationship.
Right. Yeah, the needs of the business changes throughout the size, right? I do something similar when I run Scrum. I implement Scrum on different teams. There are a lot of things you can avoid because once you have that experience of knowing what works and what doesn't work, right? Then, and once you work with bigger companies, then you understand the bigger processes and then you can simplify it for smaller businesses, right?
Exactly.
And then when they're scaling, then you can start implementing the things that are required.
I think it also brings a good perspective in because you see the problems that larger organizations have the process, and then, okay, we're fixing this big problem for them. Here you are as a smaller consulting firm that's going to be growing into, right? A lot of people we work with they're looking for year-over-year growth of over 100%. And it's like when you have a solution that's 10 people, or you have a problem that's only affecting 10 people, guess what? When you have 100 people, it's going to be that much more challenging to fix. So it's, again, what we do at ICSI is bringing it back down to the fundamentals of how can we build a foundation that is scalable and adaptable at a cost-efficient manner for where you are now. As you kind of scale, it becomes easier for you.
If a company has their own IT staff, can ICSI still work with them and share, the responsibilities? How would that?
That's a very common trend that's been occurring, I would say, over the past 16 months on our side. What we're seeing is in IT, you have to wear a lot of hats, and some folks that are being hired by the clients that we've been bringing on, they need to have a second set of eyes over their IT. They trust, but they want to verify things. Or they want to say, this person is great at being the face of IT inside of the building, but they don't want to burn that person out. They don't want that person staying up all hours of the night doing, I always call it the non-sexy stuff of IT, checking the backups, making sure the patches are getting applied, making sure your EDR is up to date where it needs to be. The getting up, brushing your teeth of IT infrastructure, that's where we come in as well to take that burden off of them. And we're an extension of their team. And a lot of times, some of the organizations that we work with don't have the extensive tool sets that we have. We get it at a fraction of the cost just because we have our own economies of scale.
Right.
So we can take them, drop them into our ecosystem and say, hey, here are our tools that we use from a security perspective. You don't have to go out and reinvent the wheel. We're a full stop shop for you. So if you're looking at certain security solutions that maybe aren't cutting it anymore, certain screen sharing with your end users that is costly and insecure, or a backup solution that you kind of been nursing along for a while, we come in when we go on those, we call it co-managed IT, put an evaluation together and really work with, okay, these are some things that you've wished you could have gotten done. However, you haven't had the time to get those things done. And maybe sometimes it's like getting told by someone else, like teaming up with the internal IT and saying like, hey, what have you been telling these people for numerous years that they just haven't been listening to? Like, how can we work with you to maybe frame it in a different light? Because sometimes people sound like a broken record, right? It's like, oh, Max, the internal IT guy's been saying this for years and everything's been just fine. They kind of lose that in their mind. They're like, well, Max is just saying this because he's complaining about it. There's no real threat. But then when you come in and you back it up with facts and data and say, hey, like we were talking with an XYZ company in a similar boat that had this really bad thing happen to them. It's not a scare tactic. It's just allowing them to understand what's going on in the world. And sometimes when they're in their own little ecosystem, they don't think about other threats or potential issues that could occur. Bringing in another set of eyes can assist to kind of bring that to light. So you're really supporting the business, supporting the internal IT, and really the employees at the end of the day to make sure that they can have an effective and productive working relationship with IT.
Right. One of the reasons I think it's important to bring outside help on the, because when you're growing as a company and you're having different needs on the IT stuff, if you have one person, then you're stuck with those skills and everything else gets kind of forgotten. And then you don't need all the time, for instance, a networking expert. You need it at a specific time, and then you don't.
Mm-hmm.
So
correct.
Having an internal staff that can do the core, that is not going to change, but then having a partner like ICSI that can do all these different varying demands of different skills. I think that is a great partnership, right?
Correct. And then in the IT world, as you know, it's hard at times to retain talent. And it's not always a money thing, it's also an interest thing. So they want to be challenged in different ways. And some folks that, at least I see this on our team, they see a new set of issues every single month that they can put their brains towards and say, hey, like this was a networking issue, or this looked like a networking issue, but it was actually a vendor issue, and why, and how can I fix it? Versus when your internal IT, at times you get a little bit siloed and you get a little like, hey, I know what's working and I'm going to stay this way. When we look at it as a third party, we're like, hey, you could do it this way, you could do it this way, you could do it this way. And then we talk through it with you to come up with the best solution. But it's also it's much more entertaining for our folks because they're seeing more things on a daily basis. Just like when you're working with huge companies, as we were talking about earlier, you're taking that contextual knowledge, right? You can read the books, you can pass the certificates, but real world knowledge and application of IT can be rare at times to actually find. I can't tell you how many resumes we look through that has so many certificates on it, but I'm like, I want to know that you can actually do it. Can you do it? Like, here's a lab. Let's put that firewall together. Or there's an open port in this sample environment. How are you going to get into that? Like, really test people.
Right. We can delve a little bit on the screening part. Yeah. But before we go that, I wanted to talk about, so what you're describing is the problem of the guards. If you have a guard guarding anything, it gets boring quickly. Because there's no challenge. I mean, there is until there isn't. Threshold goes very quickly. So what you're describing is having rotation, having people going through different environments that provides a much more challenging, environment for the people, and they're sharper because of that.
That's a good way to put it. Yes.
So that the other benefit that I see from what you're describing is that if you have an engineer going through different organizations, different implementations, deployments, then you can start seeing the patterns, of what works and what doesn't work, right? You can read it on the books, as you say, but that's not going to be the same as just, going through different projects, right? And
definitely,
the experience is actually, when you earn experience is when you actually screw it up, when you do something wrong and somebody shows you, or the reality shows you, this was wrong.
That is some of the best learning that you can do. Yes. So in a controlled environment, but yes, learning from your mistakes is very, very crucial. And also having the camaraderie of other employees you work with. Like there's a famous saying, like, you can't make all the mistakes yourself. So also relying on your other teammates to kind of be like, oh, hey, I've seen this issue before. It's most likely because of this. Like, we're very collaborative as a team, which I think makes our organization more proficient. It's not just like one person on an island. That's very collaborative.
Right. How do you do that collaboration? I had that issue with my team where I had different teams. The way that I solve it is I start doing, because it's like I have people working on one project, I have people working on other projects, and they don't collaborate as much, right? So we did some internal activities. We did a study book where we would study a topic slowly but steady, and then everybody would share their experiences and they would build something together, right? It's different because these are developers, right? But that helped us a lot to bridge that island of knowledge, I guess, right?
Certainly.
So anyway, that's how I solve it.
Yeah, how
do you guys?
It's definitely challenging to kind of figure out what the best recipe is for collaboration. I'll tell you, one of the things that our director of technology services implemented was daily stand-ups. It's not meant to be a 30-minute meeting. It's a 5 to 10-minute meeting where our team is on and we run through, hey, this is what I'm doing today, this is what I did yesterday. And it keeps everyone in the loop of what each other is. And if they say, hey, I ran into this, I was pushing out this policy with Microsoft Intune, it wasn't really working, I tried X, Y, and Z, and then someone's like, oh, hey, Max, I'm going to message you on Teams because I had this exact same issue last week. It's super easy. We'll do a screen share when we hang up. That's the type of, like, you're in it. All of you are in the same work, helping the same client base. However, you may have an issue, and it's not like some of them can just reach over and yell and say, hey, like, I'm having an issue here. So we'd like to have that touch point in the morning, right? Saying, hey, how's everyone doing? What are the roadblocks? How can we get through it? I think that's fundamentally changed our business, having those 15-minute meetings.
Right. The other thing that we did that was not for knowledge transfer, but to have everybody sync up, was to do game nights. Well, we call it game nights, but it's basically during the working hours. But the idea is we do these silly online games where we compete on something, and then we give, the one that beats everybody gets some, prize.
Certainly.
So that helps a lot to build camaraderie, right?
Mm-hmm.
My wife, she's co-founder and she's the CFO of the company, and she's very competitive. But I didn't say that, right?
Your secret's safe with me.
Yeah. She's very competitive, so we she gets into this competitive mode, and she loves playing those type of activities because of that, right? We can play 3 games of chess
Mm-hmm.
before it becomes an issue, right? So, we stop playing after 3 games because then the competitiveness,
Yes.
gets to an unhealthy level. So she enjoys doing those type of games with the people because everybody is competitive, but also there is some skin in the game, but it's not really. It's like a $10,
Mm-hmm.
gift or whatever, right? So it's not really that much, but it still gives the edge, right? So anyway,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. And you learn a lot about people in those types of environments, like how someone does it, how their gaming strategy, especially in your line of work, with how they code, right? So their thought process may be different, and it's good to know that when you're working with folks. So that's a good takeaway.
Yes. The other thing that I think we have in common in our line of work is, so what I'm doing is IT staff augmentation with developers, QAs, and UX,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what I see that happens is that we become this unseen servant, right? When everything works, then we become invisible. But then when there's an issue, then it's like, who is responsible for this, and then the customers are going to say, okay, why this happened, and then we have the drill
Mm-hmm.
down, right?
Yes. Very, very much. It's sometimes this is just a cartoon I saw one time. It said, like, yeah, we pay for IT, and then there's a person standing there and everything's working, and they say, why do we pay for IT? And then in the next cartoon, it's like the computer's on fire, and then they say, why do we pay for IT? It's like, well, you don't really want to talk to us too much from the help desk side. You want to know we're there and that we can work through it and help. You don't necessarily want to talk to the help desk every single day for a repetitive problem, right? One thing that we found very beneficial is doing quarterly touch points with our clients, right? We send them, whenever we sign a new client, we set up that quarterly touch point just so they know we're going to be doing a lot of work over the next 90 days, but this is going to be a way for us to step back and see where we're going, what we've done. We'll give everyone ourselves maybe a pat on the back and say, hey, great job by the client, great job by ICSI, we're not done yet, let's keep going. And those check-ins are important. And if you're a business owner in IT as well, like those are very important for keeping your pulse on your client's happiness as well. Because the last thing you want to do is have someone that's unhappy and not communicating with you, because then that opens the door up for other opportunities for someone else to come in and potentially do a better job.
Right.
Or perceived to do a better job, I'll say.
Yes, because there's a lot of, and that's why I bring up the unseen servant concept,
Mm-hmm.
because it's about the perception of not only doing the job, but also showing that they were doing the job and they were doing the
Yes.
job properly. And then when there's an issue, being able to decisively solve the issue.
Certainly.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I
that's
think
always a touchy subject when there's something that goes wrong and you're saying, okay, well, what happened here, right? Like who did what to break this? And we're heavily invested as a Microsoft shop. And it's always like, oh, well, Microsoft did this. And like 90% of the time, like it is true, they changed something. However, like you can't just always say that. Like they're a partner of yours as well. And what a lot of clients, they loop you in with that regardless, right? It's like if you're the one that's managing the tech stack, then you're essentially associated with those vendors as well. So it's a blessing and it's a curse, right? It's like the one person in our business, we're the one person that they go to for any IT need. Whether the internet goes down, whether a server goes down and doesn't come back up, if someone clicks on a bad email, like all of that comes back to us. So being able to build that trust with the client for them to understand what's in place and also take ownership if something could have been better, then take ownership for that as well.
Right. It's the story of who is a better captain, the one that went through the storm and survived, or the one that navigated around it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happens, everybody's fine. Yeah, but how many of those storms did we avoid it because of the captain?
Yes, exactly.
And the perception is not there.
Unseen.
You didn't do anything, everything was fine,
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And, it's about explaining that, what the risks are, what it could happen, right?
Yeah. And I'm not sure if you see it as much in your business, but it's really clients' risk tolerance also has a lot to do with their IT infrastructure. When we go through and we bring on new clients, like we kind of outlay, it's like a house assessment, right? Like, hey, you need a new roof, but you may not need this for 5 years. So maybe it'd be better to start planning that out. So you never really know what their risk tolerance is unless you sit down with them and openly talk with them about it. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. Okay, this is what it is. However, the likelihood of this happening is 50%, 60, 70, 80%, right? Like what are the low-hanging fruits that we can just address to put you in a better position? But then the long-term planning of being like, you know what, that's not something that we want to do just yet. But hey, Max and ICSI, thanks for bringing that up. And let's review that in 2 quarters from now. That's the value add that I see a lot of our clients like, is the follow-up and follow-through on the IT plan.
Right. Which also brings to, so I used to do IT management at one point, right?
You don't have enough gray hairs in there though, so I don't know if you've really... there it is. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, setting up the Office server, the mail server, all that stuff. I used to be a Microsoft boy,
Yes, there you go.
So I was doing all that stuff. Then I moved to, Linux. So, I went 180.
Man.
So it was an interesting transition.
Certainly.
Anyway, I used to think that, we have to do all of this to make, like my dream was, get the perfect infrastructure, right? Everything has to be perfect, right? Which it kind of makes sense from, as a perfectionist, as an engineer, but there's also and the reason I'm telling this story, right, is there's also a balance between risk, cost, and priorities, right? So
certainly,
the business side, it sometimes doesn't justify to, have a perfect IT infrastructure, but having that, but what you're describing is that you can provide that priorities, right, and recommendations, right, and then the decision of the risk taking goes on the business side, right, but you can lay out the probabilities of this happening and what are the consequences of not doing this, right?
Exactly.
And I think that added value, which is something that 16-year-old me didn't see at that time. I didn't see that part. There's always this balance of risk and effort and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, running the business has more priority than or bringing profit has more priority than, I don't know, rebuilding the server, right? But at one point,
those are the tough conversations. It's like you've really gotten your value out of this thing. Like it's time to move on. And we're trying to avoid this whole server dying on you. Like you need to replace it. And some of those are tough conversations, right? Yes. Because they're running through, they're like, everything's fine. It's like, I have 100,000 miles on my car. It still runs fine. It's like, that's not how you should think of this. Like if this goes down, like we're relying on XYZ from a business recovery, disaster recovery standpoint. Like, does that meet your expectations? And like you said, then quantifying that, like, okay, if you're going to be down for X amount of time because of this, is that okay with you? Or what is your risk tolerance? And again, we're not trying to twist the arm one way or another. We're trying to provide information that then goes back to the client's risk tolerance for them to make a decision.
Right. And then what I've seen happen is that when something goes south, right, then that risk tolerance go down and they're willing to invest more on the infrastructure.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I told you so is not a good response to that for anyone listening out there. It's not time to pour salt in the wound when that stuff happens. It's like, we're here to fix the problem. Let's move forward. And that's kind of the approach that we have. It's like, hey, we're going to get you back up, but once we get you back up and running, like we need to kind of go back to previous notes, which again, accountability on both sides. Accountability on ICSI side to be the virtual CIO, CTO, like looking at the landscape, and then on the business side being like, okay, I understand, I'm ready to make the investment.
Right. I think that the responsibility on your side is to provide that information, but then after that, the final decision is not on your hand. I mean, you can go to a doctor. It's going to say eat healthy, but if you don't eat healthy, then it's not on the doctors.
Yeah, it's like we prescribed you the medicine and the healthy habits to increase your health, and now you're not doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
So this and this is
Again,
going to happen, right?
yeah, not fun conversations to have, but needed at times.
Right. But rather than the told you so, I think it's important that you provide those options and the risk and the consequences, right? So that way people are aware and you're doing your job the best you can, right? With the tools the manager gives you, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that fine line of providing the best service possible within the means that they have signed off on is important.
Yes. Something similar happens on my line of work because what I do is I help our clients to improve their software development process, how they're building the software. So what happens is that there are things we can do to improve, to make use of the developers on my team or their team. At the end of the day, for me, I don't care if it's one way or not or the other. But if we can save time on the development team, then that means that they can build features faster, right? And then there is a risk every time we do a launch, right? If you go to an ATM and you cannot withdraw money because we launched a new feature, or we're upgrading whatever, right? Then the whole team failed, right? Or that's the way that I see it, right? Or if we have a feature that is not working as it's supposed to work, then we're failing the final user. So how can we manage that risk of every time we launch a new feature? How can we make the whole process of building much more efficient? So I have a lot of recommendations to do that, but at the end of the day, I follow the policy of the manager, and I keep bringing those opportunities of improvement up, right? Sometimes I don't have the full visibility of what's going on within their organization, so I don't understand the decisions they make, right? But I honor and respect their decisions, and I still provide the options, right? We could do this better. Yeah, it's a different dynamic, but it's the same. It's a different situation, but the same dynamic.
Yes, absolutely. I would agree with that.
Awesome. So I wanted to talk a little bit about cyber threats and why they are a bigger problem today.
Certainly. So if you think about what's in the news today, every other story is the advancement of artificial intelligence. So just as we're advancing in so many positive ways on artificial intelligence, the bad guys, cyber criminals, are doing the same on the opposite side of that coin. So being able to, again, understand your business's threat footprint and what are those low-hanging fruits that your business has. Like if you have a vulnerability on a firewall or a vulnerability inside your Microsoft or Google tenants, they're going to be easier to find and exploit. It's like you're going to be able to maybe they won't get you in directly to the system, but they'll find the door that is the weakest link to get into. You can think about this from information that employees put on their social media accounts. Like Max works at this company and it puts the pieces together for them of maybe potentially what their password would be. Or he works he works at Oracle and then he has a Facebook account and his dog's name is X and he was born on this date, and they put all these things together and then they're like, oh, well, I know where Oracle stores their mail. They store it here, right? Now, take Oracle's name out of it, put a small, medium-sized business name in there. The threat vectors are still persistent. It's about finding that potential weakest door to get in, and AI is finding that faster.
Yes. AI it works on both ways. So we're talking about the cyber threats, and I think that a lot of people don't talk about this concept of attack surface, right? Which the way that I describe that is you can run a static website with a GitHub or whatever, right? A static website has zero functionality to the outside world, right? So the surface attack is very small compared to running a WordPress website that you have to continually keep updating, right? Or if you have a dumb device, right, compared to a smart device, right, that is Wi-Fi connected, right, this surface attack is much bigger, right, compared to if you have a key with a mechanical key, unless somebody can get in there and tamper with the key, right, that's your surface attack. Compared to the other one, somebody from anywhere in the world can, if it's Wi-Fi connected, can attack your log, for instance, right?
Correct. Yeah. So the threat surface area is one thing that we like to really walk our clients through. There's a lot of great policies that Microsoft and other third-party vendors outside of Microsoft can put in place to limit your threat footprint. If you're a business doing predominantly in the United States and you don't have any business outside the United States, then why? And then the question comes up, well, what happens when I go on vacation in XYZ country? It's like, don't worry, we'll still get you in for that period of time. It's understanding what can be done with IT.
Yeah, I mean,
to
the
limit
more
that.
rules you can put to limit it to what you're doing, right?
Yeah, which gets into the zero trust conversations as people dwindle down, right? Like you're getting into like what is like, is it explicit allowed to come into your environment, your servers, your cloud environment? You have to explicitly allow them to come in, block everything else, and just let this specifically come into it. That could be a whole nother conversation we have going down that rabbit hole.
Yes, always something interesting to discuss further. Zero trust policies. It's very difficult to do, right?
It is.
Because how much can you do without crippling the business, right?
It's a very, very fine line. And then who are you in the larger organizations we work with? You have the compliance side, you have IT, you have the business. And compliance and IT may be on the same side about something, but then the business is like, no, I need that function to work, else we don't make money doing X, Y, Z. Like, hey, sometimes I need to get on my significant other's machine to check email. It's like, well, I'm sorry, you can't do that because that opens up a whole new threat vector. Or like those concepts, like it sounds so simple, and a couple of years back it wasn't that big of a deal. Depending, and this really does depend on the industry that some of our clients are in. However, we want to tighten the screws accordingly, and also have buy-in from the business is a huge item to think through. How is that one IT cyber compliance lever going to affect the other side of the business?
Right. Yeah, I think that the zero trust policy becomes much more important today with the additional risk that AI tools are generating, right? It's a double-edged sword, right? So it can give you so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way that I see it is like a hammer. You can use it to build a house, or you can use it to kill somebody. Right?
That's fair. That's very fair. Yeah, and there's understanding what tool, maybe it's not a hammer, maybe it's a screwdriver, depending on the environment you're using, right? Like I know I've said we're predominantly Microsoft shop. We have clients that work in Google. We have clients that use Jump Cloud. We have clients that use, a plethora of security software. And one of the good things about working with an organization like ours is being able to see those different landscapes and those different products and telling you what's going to work well or what's going to need to be improved on inside your organization. Like, hey, it's like you've been running with this software for so long, but it's like where you're trying to go is not going to meet that requirement at this level. And we've definitely gotten more into compliance-focused roles where we're sitting in between, you have the business unit, you have like a lot of our clients don't have a full compliance team. They have the chief operating officer that's looking to roll out has to meet some compliance effort because they're trying to get a new contract. And they're like, what's SOC 2 Type 2? Or what's SOC 2 Type 1? And we have to go through and walk them through that process to be able to understand, like, hey, this is what you're going to. You're now in a different league, and you need to be able to understand, can your technology and your provider take you down that path?
Right. Oh, yeah. SOC 2 compliance is a whole thing.
I'm sure you'd see that all the time in your role. Yeah.
Yeah, HIPAA. We've done HIPAA compliance, but I feel that SOC 2 compliance is a much, much bigger monster, hill to climb.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We work with government contractors as well, and there's CMMC requirements that we have to follow and abide by and guide them through the process. It's being able to understand the requirements and then knowing when to bring someone else in as the expert in that as well. So we don't like to pretend like we're someone we're not. We take them through one thing we'll never be is an auditor. Some people are like, oh, you can walk us through this process and then audit us. I'm like, no, that's not how this works. I can't do that. Like, But we have relations, like partnerships with other folks in the industry to say, hey, like we trust this person to give you a fair audit. Like we have no skin in the game in the sense on the auditor side, but we know that they'll be fair because there's other people out there that want to really make people's lives difficult on the auditing side. And you want someone that's going to be right. It's like cross every T, dot every I. It's like, yes. However, like there is like, depending on the maturity of your organization, that's something definitely to take into consideration because it's never done. Next year, there's going to be another set of findings that you're going to have to remediate and the following. And there will always be something to remediate.
Yeah, and you cannot be the auditor and the administrator, You have a
You would be
conflict of
surprised
interest.
some of the questions that we have gotten around that. It's like, no, you can't do that. It's the fox is watching the hen house is what they say. It's like, yeah, no, that's not us. Like we get you to the point and then we sit in on the meetings. It's not like, hey, Max is sitting on this side of the table. Let me change clothes real fast and run to the other side of the table too because now I'm your auditor. That's not how it works.
Right. It's it's like the movie Drat with Sylvester Stallone.
Yes.
We're police and judge.
Yes.
So it doesn't work. You need
No.
both sides, right? To have a
Yes.
balance.
Correct.
I have the same issue with HIPAA compliance, where we will be the BAA, but and we'll work with the auditors to follow the compliance. We could not, and we should not, and we didn't want to sign off the compliance.
Certainly.
It's the same role as an auditor, right? But we will follow and make the recommendations, and we have to change the code based on everything and show that we were doing that, right? And then we had the additional complexity that we were working outside of the United States, so that added another complexity. So
I'm sure you got the extra questionnaire when that pops up. You get an extra set of questions. Yeah.
Because of that, we started running background checks on people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is something that is not legally defined in Mexico. There's no standardized background check process, so we have to build our own, right? Or at least it's different, right? So yeah, awesome. So we run out of time, but if you want, we can organize another call where we can dig deeper on SOC 2 compliance. There's so many things we can talk about. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. I appreciate you giving us the time that pre-vetted. So thank you so much.
Yes, happy to have you here. I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation. And I'll put all the information about you guys at the notes so people can reach out.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. Very good.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, Federico.
Thank you, Max.
All right. Cheers. Bye-bye.